Hey folks, Sam Basu here. So you may have heard of this term .NET MAUI Embedding with UNO platform. What is it exactly? How does it work? And are there any caveats? So let's dive in. UNO platform is the open source stack for you to build modern .NET cross-platform apps visually and with AI. So on top of a stable foundation, we give you a lot of design and AI tools to make developers more productive. So your app from a single shared code base can run everywhere. Now, .NET MAUI is another open source stack for you to build cross-platform apps on select targets. And this is great. It's essentially the evolution of Xamarin and Xamarin Forms. And we actually work very closely with Microsoft to work with the .NET MAUI team. We contribute towards the .NET MAUI open source repositories. So it's one large ecosystem. We're all friendly. But we also sometimes hear customers and developers who may have started on .NET MAUI, but now you want your apps to run in a few different places. So UNO platform essentially will take your .NET app and run it on iOS and Android for mobile, Windows, macOS, and Linux for desktop and embedded systems, and WebAssembly for web. So maybe you want your app to now go to Linux or WebAssembly. So if you have already started with .NET MAUI, instead of you having to rewrite the app, maybe as a stopgap solution to keep some screens going, you may want to reuse some of what you have done with .NET MAUI. So that is where we have this wonderful thing called .NET MAUI Embedding. This is in our docs, and essentially it's a great way for you to bring over what you have done and reuse some .NET MAUI screens and a lot of the third-party UI that you have from the Microsoft ecosystem. So what exactly is this? So let me bump up the fonts here a little bit. This is essentially us hosting a .NET MAUI rendering engine. So if you look at the technology stack, we essentially share the same .NET fundamentals of how we do mapping to iOS and Android and Windows and Mac OS, and then how we make our code compile it down to native binaries. But .NET MAUI and UNO platform, they differ in their rendering stack. So here we are essentially hosting the rendering that .NET MAUI uses. So we have some pretty easy getting started guides here. So essentially, as you start up an UNO platform app, you want to select that .NET MAUI embedding option. That's going to give you an extra thing in our UNO SDK so that you can now render .NET MAUI apps, or the UI part of it. So let's take a look at how this works. So if you get started from any of the templates or command line, this is the kind of project that you end up with. Again, let me bump up the fonts. You essentially get a single solution with two projects in it. So this here, MAUI Embed MAUI Controls, this project essentially is your .NET MAUI project just brought over as is. So CSproj looks about the same. Here I'm bringing in some MAUI NuGet packages and extra UI libraries like from Syncfusion. So if I look at how this part of the app starts out, this is pretty standard .NET MAUI stuff. It starts out with the MAUI builder. We are configuring all the things that our app needs. And here's a piece of XAML, which is exactly what MAUI XAML is. Again, Xamarin Forms, XAML, everything should look familiar if you have done any .NET MAUI or Xamarin Forms. So we have our layouts here. We have images, labels. This is pretty much the standard .NET MAUI stuff. The button, which counts up. And then I have a barcode here, which is from Syncfusion, and I have a calendar, which is from Syncfusion, just to prove that other types of UI also work, and it's not just the native .NET MAUI UI. Now, we essentially house this inside of a UNO platform project. This is the UNO platform project, exactly what you'll get from a template, and it's empty, but it's essentially pointing to the MAUI project. So with that, you notice the CSproj here. This essentially brings in MAUI embedding as a UNO platform feature, and then it has these target frameworks of all the places where your app runs: Android, iOS, browser WASM, desktop. And there are some key differences in here, which I'll point out. But essentially, if I look at the XAML here, so we essentially have just a little bit of stack panel here, which brings in a MAUI grid, and it's trying to embed that UI from that MAUI project. This is just VS Code complaining about something else. So let's go ahead and run this, which actually I have it running, I think. Let's put up my Android emulator. So this is what it looks like when I launch the project. So pretty much standard, UNO platform stuff. That hello UNO platform, that label is coming from us. That's a native UNO label. But beyond that, everything here is coming from .NET MAUI. So the familiar .NET bot, I got my click event handler, and I got a barcode here that's from Syncfusion. I have a calendar here also from Syncfusion. Everything is interactive. Everything works. So we are essentially mixing and matching UNO and .NET MAUI into a single UI rendering stack. We are inviting and hosting the .NET MAUI rendering engine on top of an UNO platform. So this is a great way in which maybe you already have .NET MAUI investments and you want to bring it over. You just want to see it working on some of these platforms, and then you can maybe convert over some other screens, and then you can go to Linux and WebAssembly. But this is great, but there are some caveats here, and this is the important one. Since we are essentially using .NET MAUI's rendering engine, this would only work in the places where .NET MAUI works. So target platforms, right? So this would be for iOS, Android, Windows, and Mac Catalyst, right? So Windows is through WinUI, and Mac Catalyst and Mac OS is through Mac Catalyst Bridge that .NET MAUI uses. And in here lies a little bit of a confusion. Sometimes you might choose a different rendering engine and not realize why it's not working. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's head over here to my Windows machine here. Same exact app. I'm going to show you this in Visual Studio 2026. And let's pull up a MAUI embedding project here. So in here, let's go ahead and run this project up front. We'll give it a second for it to come up. Same exact idea. You can see the MAUI project here and then the embedding project here. The app is up and running, but notice how it says, hey, this is a non-MAUI target, and it doesn't work here. It's just telling you up front that, hey, I cannot render the MAUI stuff because this is a non-MAUI target. But this is Windows, so it should be working here. What's going on? Well, what's going on here is essentially, let me go back up here and close this project. Let's say you were, starting up a new project, right? So I can choose the UNO platform app template. I can hit next, and I'm, presented with the wizard here, which I'm not going to go through. So let me just go ahead and create just to kind of show you what the project wizard looks like. And there are some key things in here that you need to choose. So first up, you will be choosing your runtime, right? So your .NET 9, .NET 10, blank or recommended templates, platform support, iOS, Android, WebAssembly, desktop, all of it. Now, there are a couple of things you want to do. You want to choose WinAppSDK, because this is what gives you the WinUI thing that .NET MAUI would like to use, right? So you want to choose that. Presentation layer, MVVM, is potentially what MAUI likes to use. We can also use MVUX with UNO platform. Markup, XAML, C#, all of that doesn't matter. But features down here is where you want to choose .NET MAUI Embedding, right? That's going to give you that MAUI engine that you're looking for. And once you're done, you hit create and you're done. Another thing to point out is the rendering stack here, right? So here you have a choice of, with UNO platform, you get either Skia rendering, where we make it consistent across all platforms, and we paint pixels, we make sure everything is consistent, or you can go with native. Now, native UI essentially gives you the native look and feel of iOS, Android, Windows, or Mac, and that's the safe path for you to use .NET MAUI embedding with UNO platform. So make sure you choose those things. And I already have a project where I did that, so let me go ahead and pull that up. Let's see, where is it? Let's close this, and I closed down Visual Studio. Let's bring that up again. Here is my .NET MAUI app, but with native UI and the embedding chosen the right way. So again, the same idea here. Here is my MAUI app, and here is my UNO platform app. Everything is the same. If I look at the main page.xaml here, essentially what you saw here was, let me bump up the fonts here a little bit so you can read. So here is the XAML that you saw, the stack panel. Here is Hello UNO platform, and here is the MAUI grid with the embedding of that MAUI UI that you want. But in case you are trying to run the same app on on Linux or WebAssembly or a target platform where MAUI doesn't work, that's where you got that alternative content for non-MAUI targets, because you don't have the MAUI rendering engine here. However, you'll notice here when I run this app, I have a choice of where I want to run this. If I choose the WinAppSDK unpackaged, that's when it's running locally and it's using the WinUI stack. And now I have my Uno platform app with the .NET MAUI embedding as it was intended. So I can, play around, everything works, and I have all of my .NET MAUI UI light up here on my Windows app, any third-party UI. And this is actually documented really nicely in our docs. You can see any UI from DevExpress, GrapeCD, Telerik, GrialKit, Syncfusion. Everything works because it's just the MAUI rendering engine. But just keep in mind that you have some differences here. So when we choose, let's go back to our CS Proj here. Let's right-click here and CS Proj. So here is .NET Android. That's not a problem. MAUI is going to work. .NET iOS, not a problem. It's going to work. But when you choose Windows and Mac OS and other things, that's when you need to be careful. This is the Windows that MAUI likes to use. That's the WinUI stack. While if you simply chose .NET 10 Desktop, you're going to end up with the Skia UI with an Uno platform app, and that's not something supported with .NET MAUI. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, take a look at the docs here. We try to make it pretty clear how .NET MAUI embedding works, and essentially you can borrow some time and get your MAUI UI to work on a Uno platform app. So that's it, and hope you have fun. If you have already started using .NET MAUI, here's a quick and easy way for you to reuse some of your UI while you perhaps migrate over some more things to Uno platform. But you have greater reach now with Linux and WebAssembly, and a single shared .NET code base just goes everywhere. So that's it with .NET MAUI embedding, and hope you have a good time. You are in this large .NET ecosystem of trying to take things cross-platform, and we have great tools and great frameworks to make it happen. We can't wait to see what you build, and thank you so much for watching.